What?
Red 7!
I don't know what red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down! Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
Welcome back. It is the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com. As the Sooners, it's their home finale. They finish it off against Baylor tonight. They win it 27-14, or I guess I should say last night because it's about 2 a.m. in the morning, a little past 2 a.m. in the morning. Eddie Radosevich, Carey Murdoch here with you for the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. And Eddie, I would say that this was a game worthy of the distinction of ending the 2020 season. It was a
Wasn't
odd,
it?
Not what we expected at all.
Just very
type of
blah,
performance.
but then again, at the same time, can you really bitch because the defense played so well? Like, it was just it was a strange game all the way around, and I think that, even going into the game, Carey, we talked about it on the U40 earlier in the week as far as it felt like OU hadn't played in a month, so you didn't really know how they were going to come out.
By the way, Shane Beamer was hired away in the middle of the game.
And he wasn't even at the game.
He wasn't at because he had COVID from going to interview for the job in the first place.
I mean,
apparently.
it was insane. And, offensively, it was pretty gross. I don't think that there's anybody out there that's going to make any excuses about the way that they played. They couldn't run the ball. You look at Josh's report card on the board. It was basically a shit show for everybody up front on the offensive line. But defensively, again, Carey, it's they got a defense. They got a defense. Oklahoma has a defense, and they have a defensive line that can really get after it.
They don't even need their starters to have a defense. They were out Nick Bonito. They were out Buki. They were out Pat Fields. They were out, who else? Woody Washington.
Today was the first time that
Four starters were out on defense.
Today was the first time that you actually looked out at what they didn't have before the game and thought like, well, and especially the way that the first quarter went, when it's, they couldn't get anything going offensively. It seemed like, I don't know, but again, at the same time, like, I just didn't really have a whole lot of confidence in Baylor being able to move the ball, and they weren't able to run the ball at all. Well,
No.
What was the number that they put out for as far as what they did against the rush today? It's just 25 rushes for 25 yards on 26 attempts. That's less than a yard a carry. It was the fewest rushing yards by an opponent since Kansas in 2014.
Until one big play right before the end of the first half, they were going to go into the halftime locker room in minus rushing yards.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, they just could not run the ball, and they've got some good talent. I mean, offensive talent on that side of the ball. The Thornton guy is really good. I guess I should just look down the list. I mean, I've watched these guys throughout the year. Snead is really good. They still have the Fleeks kid that is, can do some damage. But and Charlie Brewer, I thought Ebner's a good player. Charlie Brewer, I mean, we know him as like Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Like we know him like as
shit. He survived the game. I think that's all that can be asked of him.
OSU fans look at Spencer Sanders. That's the way we've looked at Charlie Brewer, because every time we watched him play, he's gotten concussed and kicked out, had to leave a game.
Yeah, but it's not like he gets nicked up. He gets pounded.
Yeah, he gets
he takes the brunt of every storm, it seems like. And there was one time that Ronnie Perkins came around the edge, and then I distinctly remember this. I remember thinking, like, as he was coming around the edge, it's like, don't hit him hard. Don't hit him
run,
hard.
Charlie, run.
Like, get out of there. You're going to die out there.
I know exactly what play you're talking about. It was coming to OU's
He was
bench.
just a little too high.
Yeah. And
Perkins.
he ran his life
Which,
off.
I guess,
He ran for his life.
no pun intended that he was a little too high.
He threw the ball 56 times today.
Against an Oklahoma secondary that had Robert Barnes playing at safety today.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? You could have told me, you could have laid out like 10 scenarios going into today's game. Robert Barnes playing safety and seemingly playing well was not, that would have never have been on my guess list.
And to start the game, and to not have Trey Norwood out there, but you have Robert Barnes, I was like, okay, who the hell came up with this game plan? Because it does not make any sense.
Did Trey Norwood get COVID during?
Yeah.
It was just a weird week. And, I think it was everything that we talked about on the U40 as far as, Alex Grinch not being available, which I thought was hilarious after the game that Robert Barnes said that, and Alex Grinch, I guess, he did not admit, but like
no, he admitted that
he put it out there that it was a false positive,
yeah.
so he wasn't able to go to practice
Monday,
this week.
He said.
And Robert Barnes told a pretty funny story after the game about how they were going through practice this week, basically with Alex Grinch on a Zoom call that was on a loudspeaker at practice, and then when they had questions, they would just get on a telephone and ask him. Like, that's how they got ready for the game this week.
So instead of playing the normal Juice World, what have you, selections at practice, all they heard was Alex Grinch yelling through the PA system.
Which that has to be like one of the most frustrating things of all time, because you can't really see what's going on, and then everybody's in and out. You got Bob Stoops at practice, which Alex Grinch sounded like he was disappointed he wasn't able to like come across.
No, that's what he said. He said, I've always, I would, like, in my career, like, if you tell me you're going to spend a week coaching with Bob Stoops, like, you dream of that. Yet it ended up he was like the sick kid that couldn't go outside and play.
Oh, there
with
was some
his
serious
friends.
FOMO there.
Yeah.
There was some serious FOMO for sure.
He was so distraught that he could not, like, because he was waiting to see if it was a false positive. He could never go out there with Stoops. He could only be on the Zoom. So, I mean, we joked about it a lot this week. I actually sent Bob a text yesterday or today. Like, thanks for ruining my week. I was really looking forward to seeing you on the sideline again. And I can't remember what he said exactly, but I should read it in his voice. He basically said, hopefully we got 2 more games to play. You never know.
Well, I mean, here's the question. What's he know about the H-back position? Because if Shane Beamer leaves...
Ooh, he knows a lot about the H-back. He's always wanted to be an offensive coach.
Seriously. And I don't know.
Stoops.
That's going to be interesting because Bruce Feldman reported
really is like the H-back. If you're a defensive guy, like, you invented the H-back.
Yeah.
Like, that is so defensively offensive.
Seriously, I wonder what they'll do, because I don't know what Shane Beamer's situation is going to be here over the next couple weeks. I would imagine he's going to have to go do a introductory press conference. You have signing day in 2 weeks?
Signing day.
You have it in you have 2 weeks to get through signing day.
He's not a coordinator. I mean, if you're Lincoln Riley, you just let him go.
The one thing though is special teams. Like,
yeah. You know what Bob Stoops does really well? Special teams.
And I'll save you from having to go back and edit this, but don't re-kick. How about that?
I mean, the Tyreek Hill thing, obviously. But Bob Stoops had been a special teams coordinator before he got to Oklahoma as a head coach.
I'm telling you, man.
Really good at it.
There really might be something there. Maybe we get Bob in Morgantown. What if Bob makes his debut in Morgantown next week? You think they're going to play that game?
I asked Lincoln about it. Like,
I don't think it's up to Lincoln.
Well, that's what I said. If the Big 12 comes to you and says, because the ACC certainly did that to Clemson
with Notre Dame
and Notre Dame. What if the Big 12 says, look, there's no reason to play this game. It's for the safety of the athletes. What if they use that excuse?
I mean,
does Lincoln just have to say, okay?
Well, he's not going to fly him up there if West Virginia's not going to show up.
Maybe Bob Bowlesby calls West Virginia. Maybe he calls Neil Brown and says, Neil, we need you to take one for the team. We want you to announce that your COVID protocols can't be met this week and that you're going to go ahead and opt out of this game.
I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that we could be in that position here in, 5
Unlike
days.
a Michigan situation.
No, like I think that there's a very real chance. Like, I almost talked myself into it this week that Oklahoma's not going to play on Saturday next week.
I don't know how many people they were missing that were key today against Iowa State. That was not the West Virginia that I was expecting to watch today. They
Virginia's
got
not any
their
good on the
asses
road.
kicked.
West Virginia's not any good on the road.
That's true. Oklahoma State beat them fairly easily.
They're not a very good football team on the road.
Let me go back to this Baylor team today.
Yeah. Which you brought something up earlier. I was sitting here listening to the wrap-up show with you and Matt Meyer. It's crazy that
that's their worst defeat of the year.
That's
today.
insane to me.
Points.
Like that was when you said that earlier. I was like,
13
holy
points.
shit!
They got beat. I think Texas beat them by 11. That's the worst they'd been beaten. This year.
Remember what they did up in Ames? We were coming back from I was over here.
Remind me what happened. Did they get down and then come back late? Is that what they
in
did in
Ames?
that game? Yeah.
No, they were up early.
Oh, and then
14-0, and then Iowa State stormed back. But even because we were doing the postgame show, but even in the fourth quarter, they had the ball driving with under 2 minutes left.
It seemed like Iowa State,
and I think Brewer threw a pick.
It seemed like Iowa State scored 14 points right at the end and just kind of pulled away.
They only won by 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, their scores have been insane in their losses this year. They lost by 6 in overtime in Morgantown.
Well, I'll say this too. I know
They lost by 11 to Texas.
11 to Texas, 10 to
TCU.
TCU, which is weird.
7 to Iowa State, 38-31.
And unfortunately, they lost by 1 to Texas Tech, which is not a good thing.
I mean we can talk about that
screws
at some
up your
point.
argument.
But Texas Tech, I talked to a buddy today, and he was, I think, in Lubbock.
Matt Wells in trouble.
Throughout the suites, they were basically taking raffles and or not raffles, but
GoFundMe's for Art Briles.
Throw $5 in, we're gonna make some moves. Passing the hat around type
throw
thing.
in $500 in, $500K bucks in.
I think the $5 was if you throw that in, you're paid in full.
Oh, they were doing a pool.
Yeah,
see who
basically.
the next coach was going to be.
Well, no, passing the hat around, put $5 in now, give me $5,000 later. We're going to call Art Briles.
I got you.
I'm almost cheering for that.
I don't think Kirby Hocutt would never let that happen.
Be surprised, man. Oil money out there. That place runs on it. Be fun.
I mean, look. I mean, Baylor. They're a hard playing team. They play hard. Dave Aranda. I know people didn't like it in the stadium. Him calling timeouts with a minute
that's
left
completely
to play.
This is how the program's going to be run. We're not going to ever
give
quit.
up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not giving in.
And you know what?
It's our first year here. We're going to set a tone. We're going to piss off all these OU fans that just want to go home, that are determined to sit here until the game is over.
Just leave. They're up by 14 with 9 seconds left. Just leave.
It's a pride thing. I get it.
No, it is. And I
remember sitting through. You don't know this, but I remember sitting through that damn Texas A&M ass whooping.
Oh, it was there.
Was it Corey Callens or Rocky Bright got carted off the field?
Wasn't it? Was the final 63 to 3 or something like that?
Freezing,
it was snowing out.
Yeah, rainy,
I definitely remember that.
Drizzly,
pretty sure my dad made us
slushy.
stay till the end of it.
And I guarantee you, a lot of those people that were there booing today, they sat through that damn game too, and they said to themselves, "I stayed through that one. I have to stay through this."
Fair enough. It's if Baylor plays like they did today. I'm not saying that they will beat the shit out of them.
OSU has to play them next
they'll
week.
beat OSU. Will go down there and lose by 2 touchdowns, especially the way that they play today.
Because this is the postponed game. Baylor.
Oh yeah,
Baylor's fault.
And Baylor's gonna. From what I saw tonight, Baylor's not a team that's gonna just go down there and roll over to next week because it's their last game of the year.
I would say. I mean, no, there's no doubt about it. Baylor did the best job that anybody's done against Ramondre Stevenson tonight.
Shut him down.
I think part of that was the offensive line sucked. I mean, they were not good.
No, they had a rough night. And
Baylor, to me, it seemed like they were basically delayed blitzing throughout the game, and OU never really figured it out. They were delayed blitzing from the edges. They were delayed blitzing from the middle. I'll have to go back and look at the tape, and I'm sure Josh will break it down in the Monday Morning Idiot. But it just seemed like – and there were times Spencer Rattler, it seemed like every time they had a first down play in the first half, he would take like a 9 or 10 yard loss on a sack.
It was almost like they were getting penalties because they were basically playing out of 2nd and 19 the entire first half.
It was ridiculous.
Just to give you an idea of how good Oklahoma played offensively, especially up front today. And credit where credit's due. Like I thought that Baylor had a pretty good defensive game plan. Spencer Rattler and Creed Humphrey both said after the game that they just straight up admitted it. They did some stuff up front that they did not expect today.
Yeah.
Josh's report card though it's pretty funny. Eric Swinson, and remind you that these grades are out of 100. Josh went Swinson 45, Hayes 40. And his analysis of it was he looked asleep, just not the guy we're used to watching. Creed Humphrey 50, Tyrese Robinson 45, and the one glaring guy out there today was Adrian Ely. It felt like there was pressure coming from the left side the entire night. Josh gave him a 35, one of the worst games I've seen him play in Norman. It was not good.
No, they were terrible. I mean,
can't really put my finger on it. Why though? Because it seemed like they had been coming together.
I mean, part of it I think is.
Jeremiah Hall even missed a block that, like on the first sack
Hall
of the
was,
game,
like irrelevant tonight.
Well, he knew his coach was gone. He knew his coach was headed out to Columbia. He probably said F it.
Maybe. But
No,
Braden Willis wasn't irrelevant.
No, but even Braden Willis, like the two of the balls that he caught in the fourth quarter, they both should have been picked off. One really should have been picked off, the first one, not the touchdown.
Isn't it funny how we're bitching about a team that clinched the Big 12 today?
Yeah, but
against a team that we're telling
fun.
people
It wasn't fun.
like this is actually the best win that anybody's had against this team all year.
I think that
But
probably
it
just
wasn't
tells
fun.
you like
It was
it just tells you where this thing's at right now. I mean,
it was trudging along
Before the
drudgery,
game.
slogging, whatever.
Oh yeah. Before the game, it was one of those things too. That is like, I mean, to think that Oklahoma even could go into this game after everything that had happened, and even going all the way back. Like I remember talking to you guys after the when you were up in Ames. Like it's just to think that they came back from 1-2 and even staring 1-3 straight in the face going into overtime at the Cotton Bowl. It's like I can't believe that they're back in it. And not only are they back in it, they're probably going to be favored in the Big 12 championship game, depending on how things go next week.
Yeah,
like, I'm still kind of. You say that it's like I'm still kind of in between. Like I could see them losing to West Virginia if they play the game next Saturday. If they play like they did tonight, they'll get beat.
And they could still go.
And they would. They would still go to Arlington and beat Iowa State and then get into a New Year's Six Bowl.
I guarantee you, the last thing that Matt Campbell wants is for OU to go to West Virginia and lose and come to the Big 12 championship all pissed off with them having sat out for a week.
I would love to know if that conversation's even been had in Arlington over the next couple days. God knows they're not at the office right now.
I bet Matt Campbell wants Oklahoma not to play next week. I mean, maybe he does because he hopes maybe they'll get some people injured and they'll take some people out. But
shit, everybody that didn't play tonight will be back next week, I would think.
Yeah, I especially with the new CDC stuff.
It was just wild.
Isn't that amazing though? Like, I mean, you had sources telling you throughout the week, like
I don't think they would have played if the CDC stuff didn't come out on Wednesday or Thursday.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, Riley said earlier in the week, like it's mostly, he kind of hinted that it was more positives than contact tracing. And we kind of thought, like, going in this game, okay, you've scared the shit out of us many times this year. It's never as bad as you make it out to be. And today was literally what you always, like, maybe worse than you thought it would be. Like, you're always like, okay, there's going to be some starters out.
Sure.
But until you see it, like, we heard all those names, too. We heard Bonito. We heard Buki. We heard Pat Fields. But then when you actually see it and add Woody Washington into that, you're like, shit, that's a lot of people.
The most striking thing I thought was when it was during the pregame, they bring out the skill position guys. They go through like a little, warm-up session type thing with Benny Wiley, and then who has still blocked me on Twitter, which is kind of bugging me.
Benny Wiley's blocked you?
Yeah, a long time ago. I think it was for the picture that I did with when I photoshopped myself into his garage with him and Lincoln Riley working out over the summer.
Yeah, it's the price of being an influencer.
I know.
Influencers and influencers don't get along. Unless
there's like a little rivalry.
Unless they're in the same house together, I guess.
Yeah, I need to get into the Benny Wiley House of Pain is what I need to get into.
You need to start your own influencing company together.
Maybe do that. One guy that like is very, very in shape and the other that's very, very not. Yeah. I think that'd be a good like
you could be smoking cigarettes as he's working out.
I would imagine that Benny Wiley lives in a neighborhood that you can't even smoke cigarettes. Like the air quality over there.
He lives right over here.
Oh, does he?
I think so.
Let's go egg his house later. Just kidding. If that happens tonight, I'm out of the egg game.
We went dough in Dunkin'. Biscuit dough.
Never heard of that.
It doesn't take the paint off your car. And when cops
that's not even vandalism.
But no, the great thing is when cops chase you down, they just confiscate your stuff. They don't like take you to your house and deliver you to your parents.
We actually I won't tell that story, but we used to knock over mailboxes, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you tell me that.
But the most striking thing before the game was when they brought out all the guys to do like the catching the punts.
Right,
There were like 5 guys out there total on both sides of the field.
Oh, I see
like
what you're
combined,
saying, yeah.
2 and 3. Usually there's probably 15, something like that.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel like things did not go well on offense, but didn't you feel like the wide receiver rotation was really weird tonight?
It was strange to the point that I just didn't know why Hazelwood wasn't playing.
And he
finally got
came
in.
out there finally, but it was never really like when I would look out there. And by the way, Theo Howard really fought for that ball near the goal line to get him that flag.
Yeah,
that was one of the most impressive plays anybody made all night.
There just wasn't. And by the way, is Obi Obialo alive? Is he an actual person? I don't know if he's a real person.
I don't think we need to ask that question anymore. It's.
Oh, I'm not asking because I want to see production.
Seen him like once.
I'm not asking because I want to see production.
But he's only
I'm
been
asking
available
if he's
like twice the entire season.
I would almost say that he is not suited out 2 games this year. He suited out the 1, but I don't know like where else he is.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe he's just disappeared. It was a strange.
A lot more Rambo tonight than usual.
I don't want to see him play football anymore. And I know that's rude.
He missed,
but
he had a touchdown catch.
I don't want to see him play football anymore. I'm done with that.
But unless I looked out there and saw Weiss, Mims, and a combination of like Willis or Drake, like that catch Drake had early in the game, that was
awesome.
Amazing.
I'm glad they reviewed it.
Like
third play of the game.
No, that was the spot that they reviewed on the third play.
They were reviewing the spot, not the catch?
Right.
Okay.
No, they did review the catch also, but that wasn't the third play of the game.
As soon as that happened and I saw who was officiating the game, I was like, this sucks. They're going to review. That crew, I guarantee you, if they have a statistic on how many reviews per play or per crew that they have.
You know what it is? It's like, okay, in the internet business, we always have these metrics for like when you want to keep people on your site for like they used to call it stickiness. Now they call it, I think, engagement. But like I think these must just be a bunch of tech guys that have come up with this metric for like stickiness or engagement. Like the longer you watch their games, the better. They want to lead the league in longest games through reviews.
My God, they have to be. And, the poor fans out there having to listen to Tim Brando all night.
Jesus. I'm so glad. I'll probably won't rewatch this
later
game.
on. Later.
Seriously, like, why should I rewatch this game tonight? Am I going to learn? I'll rewatch the game to see some of the blitzes that Baylor was doing, how bad that offensive line really was.
I guess my question offensively was, were guys not open tonight?
I don't think they were.
Or was Rattler just not letting it go?
I'm going to say they weren't open.
And that's kind of what everybody was saying on Twitter from what I kind of took out of it was that guys just weren't open. They weren't creating separation.
You know what's really weird is I think Mims is that guy that, and I think they were doing a lot of doubling tonight. You know, like they were playing like 8 men in the box, almost pre-snap on every play, but they were dropping a lot of people. And then they were just delay blitzing guys.
Dave Aranda's a good football coach.
He's
a great defensive coordinator.
He is. I mean, he's been every big time program everywhere. I mean, he's got this head coaching job because he basically turned around LSU, and I think was he at A&M? But I mean, he's been like the hired gun defensive coordinator across the country. So he knows.
I've always
what
thought
he's
he looks like Corby too.
He does. He looks like Corby.
Corby without hair.
Shout out Corby. But no, I mean, like
Wisconsin was where he kind of really started getting in, and then he went to LSU for 3 years, and now he's at Baylor.
Okay, but no, I think you got to expect that he was going to come up with something, interesting. And I'll say this: I mean, they've got good talent still.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they'll keep good talent, but they were headed in a really good direction.
Sure.
Until they lost their coach.
Oh, Matt Rule had from what he inherited from the, I guess, Art Briles / Jim Grobe era. I mean, it was incredible what Baylor was doing. And they still have some guys that can play a little football up front, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that some of the guys that we talk about how bad OU was in their offensive line tonight, I think a little bit of that had to do with some pretty good playing up front from Baylor's defensive line.
They're big, they're physical, they seem to be athletic.
It had been a while though since like Ramondre Stevenson was made human tonight. It had been a while since you looked at a guy like he cannot pick up 4 or 5 yards a carry. I think
they were trying to run him wide a little bit too much instead of just giving him because that's where Pledger was having his success, was just darting down the middle of that offensive line.
Well, let's be honest too. I mean, it's a little bit of an excuse, but you look at the guys that were out tonight. There's been some guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, whether it be Stogner or Mikey Henderson 2 weeks ago in Bedlam. I mean, Mikey Henderson was excellent on those little swing passes in Bedlam, and they just didn't have that tonight.
Yeah, I would say Aranda probably came in tonight and said, "We are not letting the H-backs kill us like Oklahoma State did."
Sure.
And they had a little bit of a game plan for that. And then I just think offensively for Oklahoma, it's just I don't know. I mean, Lincoln Riley, you could say he wasn't locked in tonight. You can say it was poor play calling.
He fell on the sword a little bit, didn't he after the game?
He did. I think it's more just like that offensive line just got dominated tonight. They were not ready for the challenge that Baylor brought. That's what it comes down to.
Which was a little surprising because I really did think like even, and I guess it's kind of weird to say this, but like even against Oklahoma State, they were pretty good in the first and fourth quarter, especially the way that they were able to kind of wear everybody down, and they did that a little bit tonight. TJ Pledger got loose for a couple there in the fourth quarter, but
they were never able to sustain it though.
No. I mean, it was just weird. It was a very weird vibe.
And if not for Gabe Burkich tonight, I mean, there could have been a lot more, nervous moments by the end of that game.
That 50-yard field goal that was a hell of a kick.
And by the way, can I just say this? Yes, that was the worst goddamn punt I think I've ever seen that Reeves Munchow had, 12 yards.
So bad.
After that, though, he punted the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, he was okay.
He had a 50-yarder. He had a 47-yarder. I mean...
Yeah, but he did have a 12-yarder.
That was a really bad
12-yarder.
Yeah. And I don't think it cost Oklahoma, though, did it?
How about Baylor's kicker short-legging two kicks?
I always thought John Mayers was a pretty good kicker. And the only reason I know his name is because it's John Mayer with an S.
Okay, now that makes sense because somebody tweeted me.
Something about his body is a wonderland or something?
No, he said something about John Mayer and gravity. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I don't know why you're saying that, but now that completely makes sense.
His football down, yeah.
It almost looked like his foot was hitting a rock.
He had to be hurt or something.
I don't know. It was weird.
And just for Baylor, when you see I do love when a team just quits, like when a coach just quits on his kicker. And it's like, no matter, that you're in for
It's
it
like
that
4th
night.
and
It's
11,
like,
we're going for it.
No matter what happens, as long as we're within the 40-yard line, you're f***ed because we are going for it. And there's nothing that you can do about it. You just know that you're going to play a 4-down night on defense.
I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do, though. It was just a strange night.
It was a really
bizarre
night.
In a way, too, like, you look at Rattler's numbers tonight, it really wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that good, though.
No, I thought he was terrible.
Now, he should not have had one pass intercepted, and he should not have had a touchdown.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
Yeah, supposedly Tim Brando said that he never saw the safety on the interception. It hit Ramondre Stevenson in the hand.
He saw Ramondre Stevenson.
But Rattler was 20 of 28, 193, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the interception there on the goal line, but he sacked 4 times as well.
I mean, the thing that he did that was better than what Brewer did is his turnovers didn't kill them. They were they were deep into Baylor territory. His one turnover. Brewer was, he threw interceptions that put OU in business at midfield.
I'm telling you, man, I am in love with DJ Graham.
Yeah,
he is going
he's
to
really
be a
good.
player. And you could tell, like, even on the interception
And by the way,
that
Josh
he had.
Eaton was out tonight. Bryce Washington was out tonight. All the young guys. were
Everybody
pretty
was
much
out.
tonight.
Like,
yeah.
that entire secondary was decimated.
It was bad. Woody Washington. Yeah, I mean, it was bad.
Buki, like, it was Patrick Fields, like, guys that have played a lot of football. I mean, they moved a linebacker to safety this week. That's
By
how
the
bad
way,
it was.
Let me ask you this. Robert Barnes, blessing in disguise for Charlie Kohler and the Iowa State tight ends. Could he be a secret weapon?
No, probably not, but
Thanks for shitting on
no,
my,
I mean, maybe.
a revolutionary idea.
He definitely has a little bit more size, and I think that, that's something that we'll probably talk about here over the next couple weeks is what are they going to do for the Charlie Kohlers of the world?
Surely
like-
they can't play Buki.
They're going to play Buki, right?
I need to go back and see how many snaps Trey Norwood played in that game.
Against Iowa State?
Yeah.
Look it up real quick.
I
mean,
it was
it just-
significant. I'm actually in
You're already in there.
PFF right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments that they make because, I mean, that was obviously something that they took advantage of for sure.
Trey Norwood had 12 snaps against Iowa State.
That's unbelievable. But then again,
Woody Washington only had 25.
that was the 3rd game of the year. I mean, that was Trey Norwood was still working through his 48-day layoff or whatever it was after the contact tracing stuff.
Yeah. He had that whole month that he was out.
Ronnie Perkins wasn't playing.
Nope.
It's almost incredible, Carey. And somebody put it on the board earlier in the week, and I don't know if it got enough attention that it did. Do you realize in November of 2018, OU played 4 games against Tech, Kansas, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State? They gave up an average of 47 points per game. They won all 4 of them. Yeah. Kansas scored 40. That was the Puka Williams game when he had, like, what was it, like 250 on the ground.
Yeah.
They won the 48-47 game against Oklahoma State, the 59-56 game against West Virginia. I mean, the turnaround that this defense has made in, seemingly a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
2 years.
There was a lot of good last year. It ended horribly.
With a lot of the same players, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an impressive turnaround, and credit to a lot of people. Eric Bailey tweeted this earlier, and right after the game. In 4 of the past 5 games, OU has allowed 14 points or less.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. And I think it's also kind of funny that it's just a reminder of what a good defensive line does, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I
mean, that is the difference.
You put this defensive line on any team in the last 5 years, and that defense is pretty good.
I mean, if that secondary tonight would have played, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody, they played well. But you put that secondary against, with a defensive line from 17 or 18, they probably give up 500-something yards tonight. And who knows what happens.
By the way, it is the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. Want to remind you guys it's also the best time of the year to buy a new Lexus. It is the December to Remember Lexus sales event. All of the new 2021 Lexus models are out, and they've got 0% financing on all new 2021 models. We're talking about eskridgelexus.com, 405-755-9000. Just go to eskridgelexus.com. The brand new Lexus IS 350 is out. I drive an IS. They're fantastic little sports cars, and they're totally redesigned. It's got the all-new technology, updated driving dynamics. Remember to mention that you're a scooper and you receive the deeply discounted Sooner Scoop special price and pair that with 0%, and it's a fantastic deal. So Ed Eskridge and the guys always taking care of us. They offered us a car to go to West Virginia, and we said, no, we don't want to drive 36 hours over a weekend.
That is a trip.
We do Nashville, we do Knoxville.
I'll even do Phoenix to San Antonio.
Phoenix,
again.
I enjoy. I mean, Phoenix is 14 hours.
But
But
what's Phoenix to San Antonio? For those Army games.
About that. Yeah.
About 18 hours?
You were always asleep, though. So
Well, I was still riding. Still riding.
You made up for it on Knoxville. I made you drove through the night while I slept.
Tennessee, dude. Oh, they got beat by Florida, didn't they? 31-19.
Florida pulled away pretty
Yeah.
easily at the end.
What a pathetic program.
Thank you to Ed Eskridge and eskridgelexus.com for taking care of the boys here at Sooner Scoop. And go check them out, eskridgelexus.com, 405-755-9000. Tell them you're a Scoop subscriber and take advantage of all that great stuff that's going on right now. December to Remember, 0% financing, all new models in. They got it all. Okay, moving forward, West Virginia next week. Maybe.
It's a tough game.
Maybe.
I think it's a tough game. Let's go with the mentality that they will play because...
Can you imagine the Monday call with, Kirk Bowles and all of those people asking Lincoln, there's really no need for you to play this game. Why would you play it?
I'm just going to be yelling, it was asked after Saturday's game. Texas had a nice performance today.
They did.
You can't fire a coach when he scores 69 points.
I agree. Tom Herman saved his job.
I think they need to give him an extension.
Go ahead and shut down Orange Bloods with your
We'd never do that. We'd never do that.
I'm just saying, shut it down from the Urban Meyer perspective.
Urban Meyer's not going to be the coach of Texas, even if they fire Tom Herman.
I would say that is probably true.
Who's going to be the coach at Oklahoma State?
Mike Gundy.
I think I'm going to start the Art Briles rumor this week. That was Boone's final wish in his will.
Holder spent all the money on the baseball facility.
It was Boone's final wish in his will that Art Briles gets the job.
That
you don't think?
No.
That's not what I heard.
Okay.
That's how a rumor starts, folks.
I'm glad you can start that.
That's how a rumor starts
on the post-game pod. No, I mean, I think
I will be locking Baylor. By the way, as soon as that line comes out on Sunday,
I think I will be too. And I think Oklahoma State's going to be the favorite.
Oh yeah,
because that'll get the money in.
They have to be. But it's one of those things. I feel like Vegas,
Baylor's 2-6 now,
which is kind of crazy. Like they're better than a 2-6, but at the same time, they're not a good football team. It's kind of weird how it goes hand in hand.
The problem is Tylan Wallace is probably not back.
I could see him opting out this week.
Yeah.
Did they ever get a final?
I never saw anything. I don't know. It's
because it sounded bad. I was over at the high school game this afternoon, and so I didn't ever see what was there an injury that actually happened within the game?
Yes.
Like he went down?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he was just over on the sideline and they were checking out his knee, and it was the same knee that he tore his ACL in.
Yeah, that's not good.
And it was actually the OSU radio crew that had pointed it out, like nobody else had seen it. I think it was Gabe Eichert was the first person I saw that tweeted about it.
That sucks.
By the way, we do need to do this.
Eskridge Lexus is all about embracing the best. That's why they are the official travel partner of the Soonerscoop.com podcasts. So it's time for us to recognize the Sooners' best with our Eskridge Lexus Player of the Game.
All right, we already told you all the great things about Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City, but we do have to pick a Player of the Game, which might be a little tough. But Eddie, I'm just going to say this: I think we have to go to the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I would start on the defensive side of the ball, and I mean, is it almost too easy? Is it a cop-out to say Isaiah Thomas? I thought he was excellent tonight.
I thought it was clearly Brian Meade, but, you do you.
Oh, you should post that on the board right now.
He was the co-leader in tackles.
Was he really?
Yes, with
That's
Larry
crazy.
Turner-Yell.
That's crazy. No,
I did not think in any way that Brian Meade was the player of the game.
I thought Isaiah Thomas was excellent tonight.
I was disappointed in Deshaun White tonight. I thought he missed a lot of tackles in the open field.
Yeah, you said that in the DM group chat, and I didn't really notice him. You know who's having a really good year, though? I think Brian Asamoah has been awesome.
Yeah, no, he is. He's having a really good year. Now, Agwebu didn't really spark as much tonight.
No.
Ronnie Perkins played hard, but he never really got home that much.
No, yeah, it was kind of weird. Is like they got the pressure, but at the same time, I can't shit on OU's defensive line. They played really well tonight.
You know, Flash tonight, and it wasn't it. I mean, I'm not sure. Is this? I guess breakups count as knockdowns at the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Perry on Winfrey really flashed tonight.
Yeah, and he got a
first
sack.
time in a
He
while.
got a sack stolen from him too on the offsides call on Stripling.
Stripling,
Which I need to go back and look at it because everybody that was watching it on television basically said that they don't understand how an offsides was called on that.
I think it was an accumulated call because I noticed Stripling lining up well into the neutral zone most of the night.
Okay.
And Perkins is kind of responsible for that too,
Sure.
a little bit.
You know, it's
I mean, the thing is, they're both quicker than most people.
yeah, you don't need to
you
cheat.
don't need to do that.
You don't need to do that. I thought Isaiah Thomas was good. If we want to give some type of honorable mention, I'll go ahead and give it to Robert Barnes because
You're giving him a pity award?
maybe, I guess it could be seen as that, but at the same time, that's a kid that he could have quit a long time ago. So I'm giving him like a tip of the cap.
He did just have one tackle on the night. I mean, it's not like
and
he
it
was
was like an
terror
arm
on the
tackle,
field. Yeah.
but he also didn't get exposed either.
No.
Like I like Robert Barnes just for the fact that seems like a great kid. He's one of those guys that could have quit a long time ago, could have transferred. He's stuck with it. Maybe just he really likes Oklahoma. But at the same time, it's like, that's kind of a cool story.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's Isaiah Thomas. I mean,
Okay.
he's the Eskridge
That's
Lexus
fair.
player of the game. And the reason I think it's him for sure, one, he had 2.5 sacks on the night. He had 3 tackles for a loss. He was second in the team in tackles. And we spent so much time talking about all these other guys, and you get into another close game, just like you were at Iowa State, just like you were at Texas. And who is it that's usually stepping up and making plays when it's close? It's Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
He's a gamer. And Perry Winfrey, he's had his moments. I think Ronnie Perkins, the Oklahoma State game, is his biggest kind of
Oh, yeah, for sure.
flag plant so far.
I mean, that entire defensive line, whether it be, you know who else played really well that has just been a kind of almost a major
for granted?
surprise and taking for granted, maybe even. I think Joshua Ellison has been
that's a
excellent.
good point. Yeah,
Like both of the JUCO guys have been really
had a
good.
knockdown from the line of scrimmage.
I think he
tonight.
had 1 or 2. I think he might have had 2. I know he had 1. It was around about the 45-yard line.
Yeah, I do remember it.
Ellison's been great. I mean, that entire group has been good. And I mean, how many balls did a defensive lineman get their hands on today?
They did a great job tonight. I mean,
They
there's no doubt about
they
it.
got their hands on the ball probably more tonight. Like, I don't know what the total number would be, but I would almost have to think that they got their hands on the ball more tonight than they had in probably counted up in 2017, 2018.
Yeah, I would say, secondary wise, probably, I don't know, I mean,
DJ
Turner
Graham continues to be a
led the
good
team in tackles tonight,
And
but
Turner
he
Yell
wasn't
played well.
all over the stat sheet.
No.
which he's not really a fill up the stat sheet guy. Trey Brown did a solid job tonight. He did get some penalties. But
That was a bullshit pass interference
I
call.
thought it was too.
I mean, he to a certain extent he gets those penalties every game, but I feel like there's nothing he can do about it. I thought he had pretty good position.
I just feel like Trey Norwood, man. Every time he's out there, he makes an impact on the game.
Not
Not many people can say that.
Hand up. He is a guy that I kind of shit on at the beginning of the year last year when like Alex Grinch came in. And he was like, we're really gonna miss him. We're really gonna, it's gonna be hard to replace somebody like him.
Crocodile tears or something.
To a certain extent, I thought like, oh, this guy's just bullshit, and he's not gonna be a guy that he's gonna need or rely on at any point. And he has been excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Isaiah Thomas is deserving. It was a solid night all the way around. There's really nobody you can shit on as having a bad night today.
No,
even
you
though we
played great
kinda tried with
defensively.
Deshaun White maybe a little bit.
Even on the touchdown that they gave up, well, I guess the first touchdown, they had good pressure. It was a good throw. Brewer stays in the pocket, and he finds the guy wide open. Jaden Davis, I guess, was maybe a little up and down at points
He had
tonight.
some nice moments, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm infatuated with DJ Graham and what he could possibly be.
he's really good.
He has great ball skills. Obviously, he was a guy that played wide receiver in high school.
I think the thing that's going to be interesting next week, you go on the road. I think we can say
It almost feels like, do you think that like how they played tonight was almost good considering they do have another test before a Big 12 championship? Like it almost like kind of not wakes them up, but almost kind of says like reemphasizes the fact like the shit's week to week. You got to be plugged in every week.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, it's really hard to tell. I mean, this team is so young in some areas and inexperienced.
Sure.
I will say this. Is it weird that it seems like Spencer Rattler has his best games away from Norman?
I don't know if it's weird as much as I think maybe in, I don't know, spin zone. Is this kind of like a good thing? Like he embraces the challenge, if you will, of playing on the road?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because most of his games were early and they didn't play at home forever.
Sure.
So when he really started developing, he was doing it on the road.
It was on the road, yeah.
But
I don't know.
if last night was some indication of how he should be able to take it to another level because he was comfortable and he's at home, it didn't really happen.
No. It was just a weird game. Like, you can't, and I don't know how much of it I really blame Spencer Rattler for it, but you can't play 2nd and 13, 2nd and 15, 2nd and 16.
No, the offensive line definitely screwed a lot of things up.
When you play behind the chains, it's a really hard way to live.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got to get that shit figured out, obviously. But I'm not anywhere close to being, like, worried about it. Like, they had a bad night. I think that you go back to the drawing board and you get it figured out. They need to get Stogner back. Who knows when that's going to happen? You would assume Mikey Henderson will be back next week. I mean, all the guys that
I think you
missed
assume
tonight,
almost everybody is back next week.
And the weird thing is they don't have a whole lot of injuries right now.
No.
I mean, I guess technically you could probably call the Stogner thing an injury. He didn't miss because of COVID tonight.
Yeah.
So it just, like, they got some things figured out. It's going to be interesting, too. Like, depending on what time that game is, I think it's probably pretty lucky for them that they're not playing at 7 o'clock next week. We'll find out tomorrow or on Sunday if it's going to be 11 or a 2:30 game. But, I mean, the weather's not going to be good. It's supposed to be snowing.
You know they're going to push for an early game just to get it over.
11 a.m.?
Yeah.
Well,
get in there, get out.
It's going to be weird.
Get as much time as possible to prepare for the Big 12 championship.
They should
Although,
just
look, I'm
move it
telling you,
up to
man,
Friday.
that'd be pretty cool. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that the conference approaches Oklahoma.
I've already talked myself into it. I talked myself into it on Thursday. of this week.
That if everything worked out,
That
they
I
just
thought
wouldn't play the final weekend.
Well, I thought that they had a better chance of playing this week than they do next week. And I think a little bit of that has to do with the report that was out with West Virginia and
that they were missing a lot of COVID people today.
I think the number was only like 2 or 3 or maybe 5 tops, like 3 on the defensive side of the ball, 2 on the offensive side of the ball. But at the same time, we've seen how that goes with OU even.
Yeah.
Like they were in kind of that spot for Bedlam, and then all of a sudden that game gets canceled last week. I could see the same thing happening to West Virginia this week.
Well, the other thing to watch out for this week is the whole Shane Beamer situation, because...
Come on, Bob. Come on.
I do think that Lincoln Riley, it's just my guess, my gut feeling that he would let him go ahead and go because he knows all the... Like, think when he took over a program. It was in the middle of the summer. All the stuff he had to do. And there's even a shorter timeline if you're taking over right now. If you're Shane Beamer.
Does it change anything? Like most of the time when a guy takes a head coaching job, he has to go get out on the road because they're the recruiting, trying to finish a class. Does it change anything that we're in a dead period right now to where?
No, I think it's exactly the same.
Okay,
you have to treat it exactly the same because everybody's playing by the same set of rules. It's like when you have a dead period, you wait for the dead period to be over, and then you go work your ass off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like you're working your ass off however you can right now in the dead period.
I mean, when you wake up and listen to this, it is what 10 days from signing day.
That's crazy.
In South Carolina, I'm just guessing they're probably recruiting better than Oklahoma State, but I'm just guessing that
they're not tearing the world up.
It's not good, yeah.
And the other thing is this, like, because it's COVID in 2020 and you having all these opt-outs, like, is Lincoln Riley going to feel more comfortable to go and poach someone from someone else's staff?
I mean, we don't have to...
Could he go and make a hire like really fast? What is South Carolina ranked?
You don't want to know.
They're like in the 80s?
Yeah.
Where are they?
89.
Wow!
They have 10 commits in the 20.
They
have 10 commits in the 21 class. They are smack dab in between Fresno State and, believe it or not, Brigham Young.
Poor BYU. Oh. They're done tonight.
That's what they get.
That's what they get for traveling to go play? You should feel sorry for them.
I don't feel sorry for them at all. They've been preparing for that game for all week. Coastal Carolina is the team that was preparing for Liberty and then had to go back and start preparing for BYU.
Yeah. You think it's going to affect their amount of butt sex that they get?
BYU?
Yeah.
The Mormons? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. I mean, they're not doing anything right.
Swimming in butt sex before this.
Well, they're probably done by now. It's 1:08. They don't do anything on Sundays.
Yeah, that's
can't do that.
And all that.
Do you think, and real quick, as far as replacing Beamer, I think that there's 4 names that are going to be thrown out there immediately.
Garrett Riley, one of them?
No. I just, automatically I would just say no. I don't think that Riley would do that, but he might. I mean, the 4 names that come to mind are Joe McGuire.
Yeah.
Sharon Moore up at Michigan. Played at OU, obviously. Who else? Rashad Samples will be a name that's thrown out there. I don't think it's a very good fit. And that's just not even really knowing anything about him. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how. I feel like the word that's always been out on him is how good of a coach is he actually?
Yeah.
And then who would be the 4th? There was I think Alan Kinney threw out guy from Central Florida. I don't really know a whole lot about him though. Tight ends coach down there.
Interesting.
I mean, do you think Joe John Finley gets a call? It'll be interesting. See which way they go because obviously you need a guy that has some type of special teams connection, don't you? Special teams isn't a problem until it is, and it's obviously a problem in Stillwater right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go committee with that stuff.
Sure.
Kale has a lot of experience with special teams.
That's true.
I'm not sure about Manning. I imagine Odom's done just about everything. I mean, he's been a strength coach. He's probably done some work in special teams.
I think we could probably rule out Bill Beatabo. I don't think he has too much say in the... Actually, I think he does on the field goals and stuff.
Does he?
I think he does. I think he has like some kind of say in how they block it up front. But
No, but I mean, you always want to have someone that has some connections to, like, the Cole kicking camp and all that stuff.
sure. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I was joking earlier in the DM thread with the Scoop guys, but I would call Joey McGuire one more time and ask him. Like, you're a year in now with Dave Aranda. You still happy? Do you want to come? You at least have to make that phone call.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd be a home run hire.
All right. Sooners win it 27-14. Move on. Likely to play West Virginia. We'll see what happens with COVID. We'll see what happens with Big 12 and what they want to do, if they want to try and ACC it and just get us all to a Big 12 championship game.
We'll wait until this week's U40, but I had some pretty good... I want to talk to Josh about it because Tim Brando is his boy, but supposedly Spencer Rattler was compared to a Jalen Hurts today as far as a runner goes.
Oh, no.
So we'll get into that this week.
I may have to watch this tomorrow and just dissect it up.
What a loser he is.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget, check out EskridgeLexus.com if you're looking for a new car and possibly thinking about maybe getting a luxury car. So thanks to Eddie. It's been a long night. We're past 3 a.m., and I hope you guys enjoy listening to this in the morning. But Sooners win it. We move on. The home slate is over, and the Sooners have secured the bag, at least half of it, for the Big 12 championship. They will be playing Iowa State in Arlington in 2 weeks for a chance to win their 6th straight Big 12 championship. All right, until next week when they take on West Virginia, we are out of here, and we'll see you then. Thanks for listening to the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com.